or just go ahead and build it, which they would do and then sue us. So those are really the only two significant changes we're going to make. We're going to pass an ordinance to update our fee. We'll pass an ordinance to update the design manual. All of this, I should say all of this, the FCC's order takes effect in January. It's not a you shall have everything up to date at that point, although we'll probably have it up to date near or immediately following that in January, I would assume, because the ordinances are very minor. But it's more important for us to know that we can continue to work under the design manual you adopted last year. The changes to the right-of-way ordinances that we did last year are significantly the same, just adjusting the fee. But that's kind of in some
Ray
sense.
made a comment about aesthetics, so I know we did put things in there because we talked about historical areas and whatnot.
Absolutely.
And so did they change something on us?
They did not, but as Jerry was indicating, what the FCC's come out and said is, listen, if you try to gum up the works for these guys putting in the 5G network in any way, we're not going to look favorably upon it. We're going to side on the side of the provider. And so what our firm came together, and Alexis Allen, for those of you who don't know, is another attorney in our firm. She's lead on this for all of our clients, really. Her husband's in the industry, and so she's knowledgeable in this. But what we've decided to do, the solution that we came up with is to take our design manual, which sets forth the aesthetic designs, but they're rigid, they are what they are. And we're saying, okay, to avoid the lawsuit, the big boys coming in and saying, hey, we don't like your manual, we're just going to sue you, saying that, one of the things they would sue for is saying it's not flexible and it doesn't allow us any chance to put forward our design. We're going to put a process in there. Okay. Basically, we're going to tell you this is the design, but we'll listen to you if you have an objection to it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we'll be amending two documents with the ordinance and the design manual come December. Yeah. The ordinance obviously will require 2 readings, so we just wanted to prepare you for that from December. So like Whit said, I think we have no problem in making that deadline. Okay.
You're having trouble sleeping during the holidays, reread the FCC's order.
That's why I included it in there, just for that.
We got plenty of reading to do.
Yeah.
One quick question. So they can basically decide where they want it and we have to allow it?
And as a general position, yes. Basically, they're...
I just want to make
More
sure.
importantly, what they were clear about is you're not going to be able to stop them. That's what was the clear message.
So I think when regulations like this come down, it ultimately ends up, in my experience is the regulatory body's telling the city, listen, we're going to let you have an opinion, but don't get pushy about it, or else we're going to rule for them and say they can do whatever they want. And so it says be reasonable when they come into your city, if you want to generalize it that way.
And they've been coming out to conferences, those leaders from those industries, and they're talking about working with the city. So there's, I'm sure that's just a facade, but they are trying to work with us and try to accommodate this where we can. So we'll try to get them where we can, but we're kind of limited.
Do we have an application already? I heard there was
talk. Ray and
it.
Alexis are working on one. We've developed it for several clients, and I think they're tailoring it to our ordinance.
Yes.
Okay. That's coming up soon. We don't get a lot of those applications so far, right?
Right. We haven't gotten, there's one kind of on tap. They haven't necessarily applied for an application. They're just trying to get a 911 address for now. So there is one coming. So that's why it's important that we move on with this.
So, and I apologize, the question about the co-locating. So do you anticipate there being an array of antennas on poles? Because of the different companies all wanting to then, they'll all jump on the same lease agreement, but they're going to, when they co-locate, they're going to share some type of band on the pole, much like the smaller version of satellite or a cell phone?
My general response is yes. They're going to probably put as many as they can on there. And Ray, jump in anytime if you know more about the design. I know very little about the design. Alexis was telling me about it because her husband does this. I didn't quite fully follow it. But these aren't like the older cell poles that have long antennas. These are
the little nodes, just a little
box,
a GPS type
rectangular box. Yeah. And so they'll probably put as many, I would imagine, as many as they can, but it should only be one per provider. That would be all the capacity they need. So you're going to have Sprint, Verizon, AT&T.
But they're just going to strap them to the poles. That's how else they can put them on the poles.
Correct.
Yeah, it's going to be tied at the top of the pole, yes.
Yeah, it's going to be like a strap
so it's
band on the pole with a box, basically.
Right, right. And Yes, so that is the problem, what the cities were trying to fight, even Red Oak was going through that issue. We were trying to make sure that we can keep the right-of-ways aesthetically pleasing, but this kind of limits us as how we can do it.
We did keep, on that point, we did keep the spacing requirement, 300 feet, I think is what we have per pole, no node within 300 feet of another node. The FCC didn't directly replace that, or say you can't do that. They went favorably on that, but we're keeping that in as a recommendation. So we'll use that as a starting point, but.
Do they have the right to put up a pole if they need it?
To put up a pole if they need it?
Put up a pole if they need it. Do they have the right to erect a pole?
Yes.
Really? Okay, and so do we have a right to set a standard on the pole?
What I've been told they do, when they need to put in a pole and you don't have one available for them, is they're gonna come to you, they're gonna say, we're gonna put in a pole, we wanna give it to you. We want you to take care of the pole, you own the pole, we don't want any title to the pole, and we'll lease the pole from you and put the stuff, but we're gonna put a pole in that meets our needs, that can hold the fiber, can hold the power. That's how I understand it.
Well, they can go put these things on all our streetlights and everything else, right? They'll trap them on everything.
But I'm worried about the streets that don't have streetlights and they want to put the poles, is my point.
They can do a pole without streetlights.
Right.
They can do it LED.
Offer you the chance to add the streetlight, but
Yeah.
that's a different conversation.
Apparently, they have them with the LED option, so you can put the
look at
LED
dual
in
purpose.
yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's what we got.
I want to make sure everybody understood that there's not a lot of flexibility here.
Right.
Is it hidden with the streetlight?
No, it's actually a box strapped to the pole, basically.
It's strapped to the pole.
To the bands, and they just strap right to it.
We're working hard to make things look nice. And
They're gonna,
Yeah.
they're gonna do
Fearful
the cheapest
of what
route
it's gonna look like.
on our
I
expensive
appreciate
poles.
his statement of Commissioner Jessica Rosenworcell on page 114. She kind of dissented. She agreed with part and dissented part, but this local, talk about local control issue. None.
Forget it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, that brings us, we're out of time, and the last item, the regular city council meeting items, Oak Grove is still on table. We still have no information, so they'll stay tabled. We tabled Oak Alley till December the 4th. You gonna be here December the 4th?
I am.
Okay, good. I don't think there's anything else we need to talk about on the agenda, is there? Okay. I may, it depends on timing if we need to move some agenda items or not. Land Development Code discussion, if that gets real lengthy, I may want to, or it depends on where we're at and time-wise, we may move things. So I'll just read it by ear when we get out there. Very good. That's it. I'm going to close the work session. Work session is closed.